Where-
Pieces of metal holding them together.
Oh, man.
There's one.
Not one to
All right,
pair glasses at the time.
So I'd like to make a motion to open the October 20th, 2022 New Paltz Town Board meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
No, second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And I do not have any announcements. If anyone else has any. Yeah.
Yeah, I just have one announcement that the CIT committee has now officially started the fundraiser to get some funds for the holiday decorations.
Nice.
And if businesses are interested, they can get in touch with me.
Okay, one quick one. Early voting starts next Saturday, correct? And
At the community center.
New Paltz Community Center.
And so
Yes.
please get out and visit the community center. Yep, and
Don't forget to vote.
Yep. Got those young voters out there.
And get the sticker. That's right. You get the famous sticker if you vote this year.
And so if that's all the announcements, then I'd like to open up the agenda for public input. So we'd like people to make comments. If you're on Zoom, if you could raise your Zoom hand so I can see you. I'm trying to run the meeting. And if you could raise your Zoom hand, and if you're in person, if you could sign up, and we'll try to alternate between virtual and people here in person. And so if anyone has a comment, and then we're trying to keep them to 3 minutes. And if you could mute yourself when you're not speaking, that would be helpful. So if anyone, I see someone signing up here, so yeah. If you have a
Just to
comment,
speak.
yep, for speaking.
You're welcome to give one though, if you want. It's all good. Yeah. never
Might
know.
be moved to speak.
And
Representing.
if anyone online has a comment, please raise your hand. If not, we will move on to the agenda. So I don't see anyone's hands. If anyone, last call. Okay, and so item number 1 is motion to authorize items 2A through 2L
1A.
on the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Or 1A through 1L on the consent agenda.
Yeah, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And so item number 2, everyone's here now. Great. And so item number 2, I wanted to invite Jean. Do you want to come up here or stay there? Stay away from us? It's up to you. And so I got my notes here. So we're going to have we'll have a quick discussion about the budget. We're going to have the presentation at the next meeting. But this is really, so we sent, Jean and I, Jean spent a lot of it, most of the work, putting together the tentative budget, which we gave to the clerk and she presented to you before September 30th. That budget was really kind of the wish list. We kind of do it differently each year, but because Jean was out and there was a lot of other stuff going on, we didn't spend a lot of time kind of cutting back on the wish list for the department heads. We made sure that we had the fixed cost increases like, healthcare, retirement, things like that. But then we also had, just, I'm not picking on Chris, but so one of the examples is Chris said, well, I really need money for paving. We all know this because we've heard these comments from the public.
Mhm.
And so Chris asked for $250,000 increase in the paving budget. And so that was in the budget that we sent around. All of those things result in an 8.7% tax increase, or 7.9%, but an $840,000 increase, which is too much, right? So we can't do that. But so that's where we start. We need to kind of make some cuts. Gene and I spent some time in the last week, kind of going through and saying, you know, look, yeah, $250,000 increase would be really nice to add to paving, but we can't afford that all in one year. So we made a bunch of cuts, and we have a sheet here that, you know, we can give to you of some of these cuts, right? And so you'll see the green are some of the cuts, and yellow are increases because we kind of move some things around. So you'll see if you go down to down there, you'll see that there's $100,000 cut out of general repairs, CE DB 5110.400. That's for paving, right? But we cut 100 out of 250,000. So there's still $150,000 in there, the increase over last year, right? And so, you know, for, you know, number 2, right, we increased the attorney by 10,000, but that was because the police asked for a $20,000 increase for attorney fees because we've spent more in the last year on you know, some union issues. But we said, you know what, we'll put that, we won't pay $20,000 into the police budget for that. We'll put $10,000 into the town budget for the attorney, and that gives us a little more flexibility. But if we need it for the police, it's there. But then if we need it for something else, we have it. So you'll see that, you know, item number 2, a $10,000 increase, but that's kind of offset by item number 7, which is a $20,000 decrease, right? And so when we kind of do all of those different cuts, we can get that, you know, $840,000 increase down to, we were able to come up with 200, was it $246,000 and $246,289 in cuts. Some of the things for this $840,000 increase, if you look at the bottom of the page, we have some fixed costs, right? $39,000. That's increases probably in dental.
That's debt.
Debt. Okay. But medical insurance increases $186,000. Police retirement increases $13,000. Personnel services increases $97,000. Some of those are contractual that we have no control over. So we have $336,000 that we can't cut out of the budget. That's what we're being forced to increase. So when you start, you know, you take that out, then we're down to a $504,000 increase. We cut $246,000 out. We got $257,000 left. That, you know, we've talked about this before, but that's really that's the sales tax that we lost in a fund. And so, you know, with these initial cuts, I think these are some of the easier cuts. I think we can get, you know, if people are in favor of it, we can get the proposal down to 5.63% increase. Right. And so if we agree to make those cuts tonight, we can have I forget these words all the time. It's not the tentative budget, right?
If you agree to these cuts, when you have your public hearing on a preliminary budget.
Yes.
There will be a public hearing.
on
the
the
Preliminary.
5.6.
on the 5.69,
Yeah.
right? And so that's a 5.63. That's kind of my, you know, I'd rather have a discussion instead of having a lot of like easy cuts out there for the public to kind of figure out, you know, I'd rather have a discussion about some of the more difficult cuts, you know, and part of that is we need to set a public hearing for our meeting in 2 weeks. So the public can come and comment on this budget. And so that's kind of where we are. If people have specific questions, you know, one of the things is, you know, we talked a lot about training for the police for anti-racism training.
Mhm.
You know, the chief put $30,000 in there, which would train everyone in 1 year. I was hoping to train half this year, half next year. And we still have $15,000 in there for that training this year. But that's, you know, up to the board if they want. You know, we're losing a bunch of people this year, so I'm not sure I want to train people that we're losing. I'd rather train people, you know, as many of those people this year, and then the people that we're adding, train them next year. That was one of the ideas. It's kind of, and I didn't just pick on that, you know, Chris wanted some money for a truck. We said, we can give some this year, some next year. So there's a lot of that. You know, gas prices went up a lot, so we had to budget more for that. Chemicals for the pool went up a lot, but you can see that we didn't base them on this year's prices. We're like, well, hopefully they don't go up as much. You know, they went up like 300% for some of the chemicals. And like, okay, well, we'll add half of that. So we're kind of hoping they don't continue to rise, but hopefully that some things settle out. But we can't, if we tried to cover every single potential increase, the budget would just be insane right now. So we're trying to like balance things out.
Neil, you had referenced it, and maybe I'm just not finding it here. What was the sales tax increase from the?
Oh, can I just address this?
Yeah.
So in the 2022
Yep.
adopted budget, we had budgeted for 250,000
Yep.
sales tax revenue in the aid.
Mhm.
And now we have a shortage of $250,000.
So what percentage increase is that on the tax levy?
I didn't calculate that.
Do you have like a rough?
No, I would be making it up if I did.
I was just trying to understand what the financial
So
impact from the
that,
village's decision was on the
anyway.
town's budget.
So that's in the B fund.
Yeah.
And the B fund is fully self-funded, which, so there's no taxation on it.
Yep.
And so the fact that the sales tax is in there does us no good to reduce the overall taxation to the town.
But to put it like, so if
Yep.
we were to meet the tax cap,
Yep.
we would be allowed to raise the budget by $210,000.
Right.
Mhm.
So $210,000 is a 2% increase.
Yep.
A $250,000 loss is at least a 2%, maybe 3% increase
So the effect of
to
those
2.5.
funds, so the effect of the funds going to the village and not staying in the aid fund pretty much equals a 2-point-something% increase in taxes.
Yeah. Yeah, or, you know, we could cut $250,000 out of the budget,
Yeah.
which, you know, with fixed costs going up $336,000 and inflation and everything
Yeah.
else.
Mhm.
You know, we're taking out, we got more money into the reserve funds this year, right?
Mhm.
Because of there were increases in sales tax and everything else. Last year, we spent $280,000 from the reserves.
Mhm.
This year, we're spending $708,000.
So then, just because I'm
It's a
trying to,
huge increase.
Yeah.
So, and it worries me
Yeah.
right, that we're spending that much out of our reserve funds
Mhm.
because we have a lot of unknowns coming up, but we also have, you know, we're also trying to budget for a lot of increases with gas, electricity, healthcare, everything else.
so it's rough math, but if we accept some of the suggestions you have today, which would put us at a 5.63% increase.
Yeah.
We're talking about roughly half of that increase is the unanticipated cost that we've incurred from the village making that decision.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think it's important to just be transparent about that because
Yeah,
obviously
it's
that's
affecting us
something,
a lot, so.
it's a significant impact on the 14,000 residents that we
Mhm.
represent. And
Right.
unfortunately, that's not a conversation we got to have as
Yeah.
a joint board as well,
Right.
but it's important because it impacts us all as well too.
And what are those funds being used for?
I think we'd have to ask the village what they're looking to
Intend
do.
Yeah.
so.
But
mean-
we can definitely see what we're
Mhm.
potentially having to cut in our budget
Mhm.
as a result of that change. And
I-
I do think as a
I
new.
mean, and
Falls
granted,
taxpayer,
they're
it's
not
fair to
getting
let
all
them know.
250, right?
Right.
But it's just the way the accounting works
Yep.
is we're
Yep.
losing 250 in the A fund,
Right.
but it's going into the B fund, but the B fund is largely self-supportive
Mhm.
because, you know, that's Stacy.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of the B fund is paid for with, you know, building department fees and
Yep.
things like that.
I just worry that it's affecting things like, for instance, taking 100,000 from Blacktop I mean, our roads are a disaster as it is. You
Yeah.
know, so when you have a $200,000 blacktop budget,
Well,
that barely is
Yeah.
covering.
We're
what
increasing the
yeah.
budget for blacktop, right?
Yeah.
And, but the other thing is like, the reason I'm nervous, we've had a very tight budget for 3 years now.
Yeah.
With COVID,
Mhm.
cutting, not hiring
Yeah.
people, and now and last year we did well, but we have this unexpected loss. But I'm nervous about I'm nervous if we don't like budget for things like gas and oil and electricity,
Mhm,
Mhm.
we're not gonna have enough money to
Right.
finish out the year.
right.
Yeah.
You know, we're also, just so everyone knows, we're negotiating contracts for the highway department and the town hall
Mhm.
this year. And so, you know, I think we talked a little bit about it in the past, but we need to have some money for that as well. Because we
Employee
haven't,
contracts, just to be clear.
what,
It's just in case people don't know, it's employee contracts.
Employee
is what it-
contracts.
yeah.
right? And, you know, we can pretty much guarantee we're not gonna get a 0% increase in their wages because of the way inflation is going.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we're gonna, and those are not in, we have some money, but you know, that's not reflected in this right now.
Yeah, and sorry to belabor the point, but I do think it's important because, you know, every time we do this budget process, people ask us for additional information on how we get here and how we spend our funds. So I think it's important to kind of talk about it this way as well too. But, you know, I think in the last few years, when we've had very unforeseen circumstances that have been as a result of COVID or other landscapes that we've had during the pandemic and how that's impacted revenue, it is certainly frustrating though that one of the biggest hits we've now seen is actually from one of our own co-municipalities as well. And I just think it's important to note, just so people understand the difference, like unlike the village of New Paltz, you know, we are sitting in a courtroom that we operate, that we, you know, pay to have security in. And that also includes village ordinances as well too. So when they also create laws and people come in, we also pay for that and they also receive share of the revenue. Anything we have to do with policing, of course, we've talked about this for years, is from us. And again, as well, when the village also makes and administers laws, and some of those laws also bring revenue to them as well too, that it's our police that we pay for that do that as well. And then we don't have the same revenues like the village does as well too. The village makes a significant amount of money, obviously selling water, and they have the ability to raise those water rates. And people talk about raising water rates very differently than they do talk about raising the tax levy as well. So,
Not to mention
Yeah.
the flowers and banners on Main Street that people in the town, just saying.
well, but I actually think that you just brought up a really good point, which is that we've had a number of things, I would say in the last, you know, 12, 18 months, which have been these smaller kind of, can you pay for these things? And I mean, I think unfortunately, like when we're sitting here today and we have to talk about making serious cuts to like essential programming for our community,
Mhm.
I actually think the answer really needs to be going forward, like, hey, like we took a really big one for you. We subsidized you by $250,000 at our expense and at the expense of the entire 14,000 population of the town
Can you
for a
take over some
7,000
other thing?
subgroup. So
Yeah.
I'm just speaking for myself as a single member of the board, but
Mhm.
when we get one of those requests where we have an option to make that choice, I'm not inclined to do that based on the numbers we're seeing today.
Mhm.
Love to talk
Well, no,
budgets.
people have other things they
Yeah.
want to talk about or, you know, but this is, like I said, this is not the final discussion. And any changes we make tonight, you know, I'm happy to revisit them and talk more about them. Because I don't want to, I think after we have a fuller presentation,
Yeah.
you know, these are, I look at these as kind of rough draft
Totally,
cuts.
absolutely.
And I'm happy to revisit anything at any time.
This is you brought your car in and the mechanic tells you all the things you could do to your car. And you're like, I don't know, maybe I don't want to change the air filters. That's a little too much. But we,
Right.
you know, so you get the first sticker shock.
And we
then
may
go-
hear, you know,
Yeah.
Mhm.
you know, we may hear from some of the department heads, like, you know, like, you know, we're not, I know Rhett's coming here soon, hope he's not
Yeah.
here yet, but they asked for another employee for the court.
Mhm.
And, you know, that, we cut that out, right?
Yeah.
We've gone 2 years without another court clerk. I think we have to go another year. I'm not sure if the courts are back up to where they were, but you know, that between the salary and the insurance, that's $67,000 that I can't put in the budget right now, but maybe we'll hear from the judges later on. But I also think, you know, what we're trying to do is with the renegotiating the contracts, we're trying to maybe compensate some of the current employees a little bit better, so they're more likely to stay
Mhm.
versus bringing in people and having lots of turnover.
Yep.
Yeah, which I think is incredibly important. That's one of the things I've been fighting for the whole time is longevity, keeping people employed in the town so that they're happy, so that they feel like they're getting, rewarded for their efforts. And if not, then what we're doing is just getting new people and spending all the money retraining somebody
Yep.
else for the position that somebody was doing an incredible job for.
I mean, I will say,
Yeah.
in the 7 years I've been here, Gene might have a different perspective. I've never seen the amount of turnover that we've had in the last 6 months of people
Yeah.
leaving. It's pretty shocking,
Yeah.
Hmm.
right? And it's not just the town, I think this is happening. People are going off, they're going better paid jobs.
Mhm.
I also think that there's some, people are getting burned out. Like I was gonna talk about this, but there's this theory that, with post-COVID, people have like post-traumatic stress and they have more anger, or they have less empathy.
Mhm.
And, first, I think we saw it with the police.
Yeah.
People
Some of
have
us at
seen-
the table might feel that way too, actually.
Well, no, I think, and so I think this is,
Really want to go there.
I think this is what we're seeing. Like, I think frontline workers saw it first, people in grocery stores and restaurants.
Mhm.
But I know that the staff is seeing.
Yeah.
People are calling my administrative assistant and yelling at her for a half an hour on the phone. Right? And that
Mhm.
burns people out.
Yeah.
Yes, it
And
does.
they're calling the highway department secretary and they're doing the same thing. And I guarantee the court clerks are getting it.
Oh, yeah.
And eventually it's like, I'm getting paid $17 an hour to get yelled at,
Mhm.
forget it,
Mhm.
right? And I think that the grocery store and the restaurant workers, we're seeing the same thing that they saw a year
Mhm.
Yep. I think that's right.
ago. And so it's,
So it's a great time to exercise kindness and patience, I found. So instead of bringing it in, you just say, no, I'm gonna combat this with kindness and patience.
Because we can.
Because we can, and ask people to do the same thing. And part of a budget is actually, kindness. It's basically saying, we appreciate what you're doing in our town, and we will make sure that you're paid and you're acknowledged. I think is super important. Might seem small, but it's a big thing.
And so, if people want to talk about it more or not, but if people, I would like to make a motion to make these changes
Mm.
to the budget and adopt them, and then we can rework the budget and present and then also, make a motion to set the public hearing for 2 weeks from today on November 3rd. At 7 PM.
Mhm.
So I'd like to, first off, why don't we have to do that by law anyway, so there's not much disagreement. So I'd like to make a motion to set the public hearing for November 3rd at 7 PM.
Second.
All in favor?
I.
Aye.
And so we'll do that. And then what do people think about making these changes and presenting a budget with a 5.63% increase? And like I said, I think I'm happy to revisit this because we often do.
Mhm.
If department heads come in and
Yeah.
say, you cut this person, I
Right.
really need it. And then I think we can have a bigger discussion. But we can also present, my computer died yesterday, so I don't have my spreadsheets all together, but I will have it back up by
Mhm.
in another day or two. So we'll have much, if you
Do we have
want.
to add that back to the budget?
No.
I know, that was.
No.
I personally am in favor of doing that in part too, because
Mhm.
I would argue as supervisor, you could have done that on your own and you chose to actually present it in a more transparent way to help us understand what our department heads were thinking. So I definitely support.
I mean, I
That's part of it
respect,
too.
I think that they're trying to be extra careful. They're trying to do exactly what they need to do, give us the estimates for what things are gonna cost. But, then I think we have to kind of weigh them out, and instead of like every department increasing things by 10% because everything not gonna go up by 10%. Some things are gonna stay the same, but we will have some money in reserve to kind of handle these things, but we're putting it in one place instead of 10 different places.
Mhm.
That's kind of how I'm looking at it. And then as things change, hopefully we'll have some flexibility to move money around. But, for the most part, this is like, 90% of what people were hoping.
Mhm. I'm okay with doing a preliminary vote for this as well.
Before we go further, I know we talked about there being money in the budget for training and for anti-racism training for the police, but I didn't hear about it for the town. And I would really like to see that in the budget.
I mean, we have it for the town board. We don't have it for the other employees. We didn't take it out of what we had in ours. It's still there. So we can still do it.
Mhm.
And I thought we would start with the police and then we would just keep moving forward to the rest of the town employees, if that's okay.
Mhm.
You know, and we would just keep that $15,000 in the budget. Once it's in there, and it's a lot easier to keep it in there than to add it,
Mhm.
you know, every single year. So I think if we have $15,000, I think that lets us train something like, you know, 15 or 20 employees a year. And I think, you know, that would let us do the rest of the town probably within 3 years.
Who does it? Who does the training?
Well, that's been the problem.
Oh,
Yeah. So we talked about one place doing it because that's who was recommended by
Mhm.
the NPP RRC. I believe
Mhm.
that's the acronym still, but I mean, we might have to look into another one if we really cannot get that.
We're just talking about it in Poughkeepsie today. I was
Mhm.
working in Poughkeepsie with, it's mostly the Latino community, but somebody was asking me if I knew somebody who did that. And I said, I don't know. I turned it, but I don't know if
think-
you guys had somebody.
I mean, so
Where
I'd
we
like to
had
put,
left
I'd like
with-
to have a fixed amount in there
Yep.
that kind of, if you put a lot in one year, then there's an urge to take it out the next year. But if you put a reasonable amount in there, then, and that's what it's targeted at. And then that's training. And then I think we kind of have it in there. And then as other types of training comes up, I think it lets us, you know, we have, like, just like we have money for a grant writer every year. And that just kind of stays there. It's like, well, because that's about what we need for the grant writing, you know, but we don't like write a grant one year and then not write it next year and just take it out. It's like, well, that's an annual cost. And once it's in there and it's used, it gets accepted as an annual cost. And then you don't have to argue about it every single year. And no one has to, you know, be a big advocate because it's just like, well, that's like, you know, that's what we spend the money on.
Right. So hopefully we
know,
can
but if
find
it's too
somebody
big-
who will do it, and then we can keep that same amount with the same organization every
Right.
single year. and
My
have
worry is
it
like, when it's too
running
big, like I'm not picking on this, I just have the numbers in my head, but if it's too big, like paving, then there's like, oh, well, there's a lot of money there. We can cut some of that out.
Mhm.
You know, but if it's the right amount, then it's like, no, you can't cut it out because that's what we need every year. That's kind of the rationale for that, but.
And it's really important.
So if we don't do it, it's into this year's budget for the town board to do it, right?
Yeah.
So if we don't do it by the end of this year,
Well, it's still in the budget for next year. It just stays there, it just rolls
but will
over.
we take that money away from the police being able to use the?
No, that's in our budget, not their budget.
Okay, so it'll be 30, if it's 15,000 for this year that we were allotted.
No, I
No.
don't think we have 15,000
No, that doesn't, that
because
would be
there,
way too much.
because there's 5 of us.
Yeah.
You know, I think we had like, I
Okay,
think it was like 1,500 each or something like that.
Mhm.
so then
But that's what
then
we
next
would
year-
have. Yeah,
it'll be in next year's.
Yeah.
Put in.
you know, and we're
I was hoping
small.
we
and-
could do it this year.
I mean, we're also small enough that we don't have to pay someone to cover your time.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the cost is if we're paying for training for someone, we need, for the police, for example, you need to then bring in someone to cover them when they're not working, right? So there's an added cost, whereas, you know, you guys, we don't have to pay someone to cover your time,
Mhm.
right? So it's cheaper for us.
Mhm.
So it's not as a significant thing. It's like you don't have to have overtime, you don't have to have, you know, part-time workers come in to cover cover their shifts. So that's why. And that's not necessarily the same thing for, you know, we do training in the town hall for lots of, like, the Gene staff is taking lots of accounting training and things like that. We don't have to bring someone in to do the overtime. Like, they kind of figure out a way to make it work. So the hardest are the police, because like their time is very structured. So motion to accept these changes to the preliminary budget.
Second?
All in favor?
I-
Aye.
And that was also to set the public hearing as well.
we did that.
I think we said that
We
already.
did. Oh, my apologies. All right.
And then motion to approve the October warrant for $2,851,823.81.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we can adjourn. Rhett said he was going to come to the meeting. He wanted to talk to us. He should be here soon, but we're not taking any votes on that. And not everyone even wants to stay around. I think this is, they want to have a discussion about I think they had to cancel court recently. I'm not sure if they did in the end or not, but it's the same sort of thing. They're having trouble getting people to be security guards because we pay, I think, $18 an hour.
Mhm.
And other courts pay 25. And so my understanding is a lot of them are rotating between different courts. And if they have an offer to work one night for 25 versus 18, they're not available for us at 18.
Right.
And that's just the way it is,
Mhm.
right? And so that's one of the issues. We're looking into possibly paying the part-time officers
Mhm.
to come over here. That's also complicated because if they spent 8 hours working for the town police that day, and then we wanted them to work at the court that night, we have to pay them overtime even though they're part-time because it's more than 8 hours in one day.
And can we share with any other court that also has these problems? Like, can there be more of a pool? Can we, like, talk to other towns in the area?
We're all short, right? There's just, there aren't enough people
Right.
that are doing this right now.
Mm.
This is like it's not us, right? This is happening all over. And so it's the same thing that we're seeing in the last hire, at for $18 an hour, people are like, no, I'm not doing it, especially when these people are licensed to carry firearms, right? And they're,
Yeah.
it's very important that the judges and the court secretaries feel safe in
Mhm.
here. And so we need to have people that are well-trained and good at their jobs in case there is an incident.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Now, is
so-
this a special job? You can't just have a police officer come in and do it. It's somebody who's specifically trained as a court officer. Is it a
No,
special-
you could have a police officer, but
Okay.
our police officers, the way it works is if they're a police officer in the town and they did this at night, that would be time and a half. Because
Oh, they're not
it's
doing
on
it
top
as
of their
assigned.
40 hours.
Oh, I see.
So
No.
it's
Right,
because they work for the town. So we could hire a police officer from a different town,
Mhm.
but they may not necessarily want to do that.
Right.
So
Big
like,
cut and pay.
yeah, it'd be a cut and pay too. Because the starting salary for officers, I think is 2050 or something like that. And so but I think that's why Rhett wanted to come and talk to us, give us an update. I know they interviewed some people,
Mhm.
but this is not unique to the courts. Oh, yeah, we had it on here, right? We had I'm sure we had this, the consent. Had it in there.
Higher.
Yeah, the new,
Mhm.
we're authorized the
Sergeant.
code, we added some things to the last minute, but Chris wants to advertise in buildings and grounds. I think is that in here?
I
No,
saw it.
No, I didn't see it. Not in the last
It was,
one. that I
yeah,
had.
right. It was an earlier one, I think.
Mhm.
Okay, as long as it didn't get left out accidentally, but if it did, before we close the meeting, I'd like to make a motion to authorize Chris Marks to advertise for a buildings and grounds worker, full-time position.
I'll second.
So this is to replace the person who left in the summer.
Mhm.
We've had a part-time, full-time temporary worker since then,
Mhm.
but the
Mhm.
winter season's coming up
Right.
when they need more help. And so I'd like to make a motion to authorize Chris to advertise for that position.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We do need our roads plowed.
Mhm.
We do need our roads plowed.
Yeah, and they plow like the parking lots for the town hall, the community center.
Mhm.
They do the sidewalks. And Rhett's here now.
The judge has
And
entered the
so the
court.
judge is here.
Mhm.
All right.
Mhm.
And so we can have our conversation.
Do we have to rise when you enter?
All right.
Nice to see you, Red.
So we're done with the meeting now. It's perfect timing. I was just kind of, if you weren't going to be able to make it, I was basically saying, I thought this was about you giving us an update on some of the difficulties the courts are facing with security. And did we have to close, we have to cancel court one night? I know that was on the table as an option.
I think the root, well, I mean, of course, there's always human issues. We had somebody who was ill, but the root of it is that I don't believe our hourly is going to be, you know, we're not able to, we used to be able to fill positions, have people as part-timers and all that, and it's just, you know, so that's why I think last time we were talking about it, I think Jim and I wanted to follow up and just see where we were and go through and make sure our budget was looking sort of, I know we were ambitious and
Yeah. I mean,
hopefully we're gonna be able to keep things functioning.
well, I know you guys were asking for an additional hire. That was in the budget. I don't think we can do that this year, but that's the only cut we made from the proposals that you put forward.
We
Right?
reduced your salary too.
So we tried to there were some low-hanging fruit that we kind of took out tonight to get the rate down to 5.69, 5.63. But, we tried to leave a lot of the asks that different department heads put in there because they kind of know the troubles that they're going to be facing in the next year. Right? For some, it's hiring, for some, it's gas, for some, it's, chemicals, right? And so we make some small cuts in there, but we kind of realized that we didn't cut everything out yet. So, and the hope is that we don't have to cut everything out, because if we did that, it's only going to be even worse, I think, next year, because our revenues are going to go down next year. And I think our costs may continue to go up. And so we're trying to thread the needle here in the middle. I'd rather have us function correctly than say, hey, we made the tax cap and then have everything fall apart in November next year. We don't do anyone any favors if we have to close court because no one's here working. And I think that's my concern. So I get it. I know you guys, we pay $18 an hour. We have not been able to hire admin staff for 18.
Yeah, you're feeling us.
And so we've seen this across the board. Sometimes we have to say, we have to put the range in from 18 to 20. But then, at the same time, what's happening is we hire someone at 20. We have people that have been here for 8 years who are making 16. And they're like, what the heck am I doing here? Right? It's insulting. And so, we're trying to address some of those with the contract negotiations.
Right.
So there's some costs for that too, right? Yes, you're hiring someone new. And yeah, we could say, well, maybe you just need to get a different job, but then we've lost someone with 7 years experience and it takes us 9 months to teach their replacement everything. And we haven't done ourselves any favors because then they leave as well. And so this, right?
That was exactly our point with our full-time staff, was making sure that we get them up into a position where we're going to be able to, maintain our key staff and.
And I think the board recognized that because we've asked, there's not a single department that we've not asked to do more. As people have left, like the court clerks, we've asked them to do more for 3 years now. We did the same in planning and zoning. We did the same in every single department. But it's starting to wear people out now. And so we're going to try to address some of those things with the union negotiations.
Great.
So.
Jim will be pleased when I get to report back to him, and
So we're aware, because we've seen the same thing happen in every single department. It's not, you're believable because you're not the only person saying this.
You're also believable.
well, there you go. I, of course,
Yes,
appreciate being.
we are in a courtroom, and
Believe.
so, but it's not, no one is making this up, right? And it's not even just our town, but we're seeing this across the board. And Alex has been working on this. We've talked about it at numerous board meetings, and we've seen it in the last 4 hires. So it's a real issue, and it hasn't been solved yet. but we're trying to address it in the budget.
And timeframe wise on things shaking out, I know that there have been a couple of optimistic wishes that we had for some, stopgap stuff to just, not that it would be insignificant, but that it was more the appreciation and,
So
incentivizing, sticking around kind of stuff. in the
I would
short term.
say, I would expect to have like hard decisions, like we've asked the union rep for the town hall unit, which includes the court clerks, to give us a proposal. And then we'll be probably going back and forth with them over the next, hopefully before we finish the budget. And we'll have some hard numbers. But if we can all come to an agreement, it should be before the first of the year.
Great.
And it should be locked in.
Good to hear. Good to hear. All right. Anything you guys had a particular curiosity about stuff going on or where?
How's this place working out?
Working out fine.
Yeah.
We of course realize that improvising a jury box is going to be an interesting one. I don't think we've had any jury trials yet. I believe we've had a couple get scheduled that, frequently that ends up with resolutions.
Okay.
But at some point, that will be an interesting challenge that we've been addressing, during COVID. Obviously, we weren't allowed to even consider it. We did the measurements. I had OCA and they were like, it doesn't actually fit.
There was an area
Church-
here where the
church
jury
pews.
would sit.
Yeah, that's what,
Yeah.
I know that we
How many
were,
people?
envisioning, like, could we do a
I should know that.
temporary
Oh,
thing that
shoot.
would get slid out and then there, and then you could have
13
like a elevated 4 chairs. We've been troubleshooting all sorts of different ideas, so
Nice,
it will be workable.
nice.
Everything will be workable. We are, and we have been,
To relaunch.
certainly busy again. Things have really picked up, that's for sure.
I guess that's bad news, right?
Yeah.
It just means that our town is very active and, we have a vibrant nightlife.
Mhm.
Yes.
As well as a vibrant,
Great way to put it.
yeah.
Yeah.
A vibrant youthful community.
Mhm.
And that will often end with sometimes people don't see things the right way or the same way. Can have conflict and otherwise. For the most part, the thing that I think concerned me last night that just kind of stuck in my head was the number of DWIs that, I had like this optimistic hope that COVID shutting things down and people getting just more used to, as they eased back into life, using Ubers and, other safe means of getting home. And it just,
Are you finding that, and I'm not gonna hold you to it, but are those local residents, or are you finding that those tend to be people from out of town, or is there any kind of proportion to
I
that?
don't necessarily track it
Yeah.
that way in my, in my
Yeah,
head. It's, I'm not going with, home addresses when I'm
Sure.
thinking about the disposition on the people. But it does seem to be that there's, and whether it's, out of town because they come from other places to college here
Yeah.
or visit here or whatever, but yeah, it does seem like it's larger community. It doesn't seem like it's, like the defendants are not primarily Pulse residents, but
That's what I was interested
What's interesting is also looking at like the precursor to the DWI, like where it begins, because I just spent the whole day today in a mental health symposium in Poughkeepsie with the Latino community. And mental health is like problems are humongous in the Latino community right now.
I don't think
Because
it's
of
just that
desperation,
community.
finances. And so we were talking about exactly that, like, that's the after effect of the
Mhm.
desperation. And how do you deal with that in the community so that you can prevent that? And it was definitely the numbers are high, like way higher than when I was working there, 6 years ago.
We need a bowling alley. It'll solve every problem.
Right.
So, you know, but just like outlets, places for people to socialize, you know, things,
Mm-hmm.
a variety of things to do that a lot of other cities have and we
Mhm.
don't.
Yeah.
We did once.
Yeah, we once had a bowling, alley, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
It's a
Like I,
yoga studio, you don't knock the yoga.
that, if you don't, if you're not into yoga, you,
I know
if
we
you're
have a
not
lot
into
of
yoga,
yoga
yeah,
But
exactly.
it is
Exactly.
such a.
I'm not into
strange
yoga.
building.
Yeah, like community,
Yes.
community areas where people that,
Yeah.
you know, like the youth centers are
Right.
huge plus in the
And then when they
community.
graduate from that
Right,
though,
there used to be YMCA's, there
Yeah.
used to be, you know, areas where people could come for, yeah, socializing and for help.
right, because when you
We
get
have
out, you know, it's
skating
like,
Yeah,
getting out is good.
it's good.
I also think to our earlier conversation on the wear and tear of town staff and everyone else, I still think we're trying to figure out what the actual ripple effects were from the pandemic, and I would
Mhm.
argue that those are probably a part of it as well, too.
Yeah, so isolation,
Yeah.
family.
So thinking creatively would be
Mhm,
Yes.
good about how to support people and giving
mhm.
thought to
That's
some.
my whole day was spent with how
Yeah.
creative, you know, how can you get people together? How can you get people feeling better about themselves?
We live in such isolated
Such
houses.
Well, the
most of-
Halloween parade is
most of
coming
us.
up.
There you
That's what
go.
I'm saying.
That
I
was-
mean, it seems so insignificant, it seems so
Exciting.
little, but when you're talking about decorating Main Street and making people feel like it's a holiday night and they're all going out shopping and having hot chocolate and even though
Seeing
it's
each
little,
other.
seeing each other, it's such a big part of getting people out on a particular evening, Halloween, getting the, you know, the night of 1,000 lights, you know, everybody out there to celebrate the holidays. And then maybe continuing it on into spring, having a spring fling, you know, I don't know, creating town events where
Mhm.
people feel they have something to look
Mhm.
forward to.
Yeah, like we are a small town and that's
Yeah.
what, you know, historically, so many old small towns used to do with the,
Right.
you know, square dance or whatever.
I mean, you see it in Cody.
Oh, yeah.
Square dance,
Yeah, I do. Elks Club, you know,
Why
Town board
not?
sponsored
But
square
in our
dance.
town, Elks Club,
Why not? Why
So
not?
this-
We have a community center.
But we do have things going on. This weekend, they're
Mhm.
having the painting of the windows for Halloween.
Yeah.
Phoenix is
Yeah,
doing
That's
that,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
So
that's
the
very
girls
popular.
working
Yeah.
So
hard, Yeah.
all the buckets are in town hall. I think it'll be, that's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
I think it
Yeah,
makes
Halloween's
people happy.
always a thing.
Mhm.
The,
Right.
I
And
like
then
seeing
the- and-
kids.
yeah, I know.
And I think there are gonna be more events that
Is that
Phoenix
Saturday?
is planning
Yeah.
over the winter, I think. And there's the trunk or treat coming up
Yeah.
Yeah.
again, so if you like,
Bakery where they do the carving
The
contest.
bakery
Yeah.
has. a
They're
carving
doing it at
contest.
Huguenot
it's gonna be a
It's
huge.
gonna be
Oh,
a
they
huge-
are.
yeah,
So
we
the
hear- we
parade-
hear that.
Oh,
The
okay.
parade this year
And then the
is,
college also
instead of
always has
ending at the
trick or treating.
firehouse,
Right.
because the firehouse
Right.
has now
So
moved,
we used to go
it's
to
gonna
that
end at
since little,
Huguenot Street.
remember?
and the pumpkin carving is
So
gonna
it's
be
down-
there.
down front?
Right down-
Yeah, I think-
Nice.
Yeah.
And so try to have more of a community
Yeah,
event
or
there.
social
There's gonna be
anything
the
else,
the
you know, it's pretty-
pre-parade event at Huguenot Street, and then people can
Probably.
walk up,
Depends
see the
what our friends
parade.
are doing.
And so, you know, that came out of a
That's right.
meeting with the people at Huguenot Street, and I'm hoping people really like it, and
Mhm.
it stays. Like, it seems like a nice place. It's also, I think, a safe place for everyone to finish the parade. So
Mhm.
like we talked about it with the police chief. So instead of people kind of finishing on Plattekill Ave and then kind of wandering around,
Mhm.
you're finishing where there's no traffic.
Mhm.
And so you can
And you
just
can
kind of
hang out.
stop and
Yeah.
hang out.
I agree.
And so you don't
Will
have
there be
to,
lights, like floodlights of any sort, maybe? to-
not this year, but
might-
like, I think.
There's
we-
no way we can do that, because that would really help people.
I think
feel-
they talked about it,
Yeah.
but I think we're a little too tight on time, but if someone has floodlights that, you know, they want to donate, but I think this was the idea was like, this is a preliminary year. If people really like it, this
Exactly.
may,
Teenagers
Right.
need their.
this may be something that kind of
Day
continues
glow.
and grows.
Bring your
I think there's
glow
gonna be some live music there at the end.
Yeah.
And so, hopefully, like, this kind of turns into like a much bigger event.
Mhm.
So
And no DWI.
those are the announcements. All right.
Drink cider.
Motion to adjourn,
Second.
all in favor?
Moved.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys. Great to see everybody.
Lovely seeing you as well.
And, you
Anybody?
know,